everyone and welcome. Hope you can all hear me okay. My name is Sarah. I'm careers consultant working out of our Edinburgh campus, and I work with graduates. And we're delighted to have so many of you registered with our session today. So thank you for all your enthusiasm. We've got a really great session today. This is the final session in our first series of Future Ready workshops, and they're all designed to support our graduates with their career development. And we've been absolutely over the moon that so many of you have participated and given us feedback and shown that there is really a very strong demand for career development workshops. And we're very fortunate in that we have this global Heriot-Watt alumni network that we can draw on, and we've continued to do that with today's session. So we hope to run future sessions as well in our Future Ready series. So you do let us know if there are sessions that you're interested to see. We'd love to hear what topics you'd like to hear about. And we're always happy to hear your feedback. Today, though, is all about career progression and how you move on in that early stage of your career. And we frequently talk to graduates who have secured a role immediately after graduation and are delighted with that. But there is a stage that you reach where you realise that actually it's time to move on. And that can feel like quite a daunting prospect. It can feel like quite a career challenge. So today's career management topic is all about how you manage that challenge and how you successfully move on and progress in your career. We've got some fantastic alumni here today who have gone through exactly that process, and they're here to discuss their experiences and to offer their wisdom on that. We are delighted to have Paul along as well. Paul is the Vice President for Global Sales at Millennium and Copthorne International, and he graduated from our MBA programme a little while ago in 2002, and has a wealth of experience and knowledge on this topic. And Paul has very kindly agreed to moderate today's session. But we also have three panel members who are more recent graduates. We have Felicia, who graduated from the MSc in Smart Cities and Communities in 2023. We have Sufyan, who graduated from the Bachelor's in Business Administration in 2021. And we have Jay-Z, who completed the MSc in Actuarial Management in 2023. So thank you to all of you. I'm going to hand over to you in just a moment. Just a quick housekeeping point. You'll notice there is a Q&A box that you can use as participants. We really want you to get the most out of this session, and we find that the more participation we have, the better. We want you to get your questions answered. You can use it for comments, you can use it for feedback. So please do use the chat box. Don't be shy. I think you can do it anonymously if you want to. That's absolutely fine. We will be taking some time at the end of the session to answer your questions, and we will try and get through as many of them as we possibly can. If you come away with a question that hasn't been answered, please get in touch and we'll do our best to help with that. But without further ado, I think that's everything from me. So I'm going to hand over to Paul.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to Changing Jobs After Graduation. These are going to be real stories and honest advice from the panelists. So many of you have worked incredibly hard for your degree, and you have worked even harder to get your first job. And then you updated LinkedIn. And if you were like me, 3 months in, you thought to yourself, wait, is this what the rest of my life is going to be like? So let me start with just a few questions, 3 quick questions, and I would like to see some replies on the chat. Who loves the first job? Quick, all of you, hit in some replies on the chat. Who loves the first job? Including the panelists, please. Be very candid. Nobody loves the first job? Okay. I don't see anything in the chat box. Let me go to the next question. Who feels 100% certain about their career direction right now? Anybody at all? Any one of you 100% certain about your career direction? No. Next question. Who is confused, but you're actually pretending to be confident? Okay, we got to lighten the mood. And to lighten the mood, let me start by telling you that this is not a motivational speech. This is not going to be one way. We want interaction. We want engagement. So the more you interact with us on the chat, the better and the more value you're going to take out of this. All right. So this is all about career truth, including whatever scars that comes with it. All right. So we have a great three people on the panel. Sophian, can I start with you?
Of course, Paul.
What do you think your career path would look like after graduation? And how did reality compare?
So I think right after graduation, and I think something I've always had in mind was to have a career that kind of ticked all the boxes that aligned with my values. So one was obviously, a well-paying job, right? That's always something you're after. Second, it had to be something that's also socially responsible that I really wanted to do, like has some level of positive impact on the world, right? While being also a well-paid job. These were like those core attributes that I looked for right after graduation. Reality of it is that it was very hard to find something even available that kind of ticked those boxes. And even if they were highly competitive. And I think I understood I was a lot more far away from what I wanted and where I was. So I understood that was more a journey getting there than just getting it right off the hook.
And you're not alone, no? I've been there and done that. And if we to listen to the rest of the panelists and if we ask the rest of the audience, I'm sure they will share your journey as well. Thanks for that, Sophian. Felicia, what was your first job ever? And would you hire that version of yourself today?
First job ever. If we're talking about first job professionally after graduation, it will be last year. Literally, my first job it was an Allianz, a big, well-known insurance company, and I worked there more as a data engineer position among everyone who are in the sales team. So they don't speak or understand the technicality. Meanwhile, I have to be the only one holding that. And to be honest, I wouldn't say I was the best at it. Of course, there's a lot of learning curve in the beginning. Also knowing that my background is not technically IT as well. I'm more like a diverse major. But looking back, I would still say that I would still hire myself, but not because of the technical skills that I have, but more because of the passion and motivation that I have.
Nice. You use keywords. It's not because of the technical knowledge that you had, but because of what? Please repeat that again, because that's very key.
Because of the passion and motivation that I have. Because I believe as well that the more that we're dealing directly in the professional world, well, the more that we're basically in becoming our career, we get more technical skills, and it always comes with time. And even if we're as great, as amazing as the top star of students, it can never compare to professional experience. So that's why it's a good point that you stressed it out, that motivation and also the passion in the beginning is very critical.
And I can share with you that when I hire people today, when I started, I had nothing way before I had my MBA, right? And all I had was an attitude. I was hungry to be successful and I was passionate. And the person who opened that door for me and gave me my first job told me just that he had interviewed more people with better qualifications than me, more people with better experience than I had. But because he saw fire in my eyes that reminded him of reminded him of me when he was young. Does that make sense? So the passion helps, and it comes through, especially interviewing for your first few jobs. Right. Thanks for that. JZ, just to start off with a fun question to warm everybody up. If you can send one WhatsApp text message back to your 22-year-old self, what would it say?
22 years old myself. That was quite tricky, to be fair, because at the age of me, I mean, I would say just go whatever you feel and whatever you want. I mean, it's an age of trying out everything with whatever passions and with the courage. So just do yourself and just listen to yourself. Don't worry too much, and yeah, go ahead. Everything will be sorted out like whenever you step out your first step. So it's very important to step out, to make a first move, whatever you're trying to do, and these things, even though it's a small things, but whenever you have a first move, everything will be very, very smooth, and you will get a very big, better picture of your path. And so yeah, just don't be afraid. Yeah.
Good. I saw the other two panelists smiling and looking around, rolling their eyes when I asked that question. So maybe Sophian and Felicia, you take the same question. What would your message say to your 22-year-old self?
For me, I would say the same. Take the first leap, take the first path, take the first step, whatever that is. Because once we start, things will just roll around and things just got clearer. But the hardest thing is always to take that first step. Even though we know logically, if we don't start with the first step, nothing's gonna work. Everything's gonna stay the same. So I would say the same, like what JZ said.
Okay, dare to take the first step. Sophian?
I mean, very similar, like in what I would feel, but I think I would probably want to say, I think looking back is, don't worry too much about making the perfect choice. I think that's probably something that I would want to say, like, just accept where you are and learn the best you can. Would be something that I would want to say.
Brilliant. So I'm just putting it out there that everybody on this call and listening in has probably taken that first step. All right. So if you have taken the first step and you're in a first job or maybe even second job, Sophian, what did your first job give you that you didn't really appreciate at the time?
I think what it gave me was more insights into how the world works outside of university, when you're right outside, when you have a little more responsibility, and in terms of also how do you manage different types of stakeholders which you have not managed previously, right? People's expectations as well of you, both at work and outside of work. I think these were all like smaller things which kind of no one explicitly told me that I'm being taught, right? But it's just something that you pick up along the way. And I learned a lot of it. Like, I still use examples of what I learned at my first job today in terms of how I managed people, how I learned how to have a better command in conversations. I think these were things that I picked up at my first job, which I still use today. And I don't think I really appreciated it at that time.
Very, very useful. Thanks for sharing and thanks for being so candid. So Felicia, you have changed from the insurance industry, you have changed job, you have changed roles. What would have been a terrible reason to leave? I mean, you left for certain reasons, but what would have been terrible reasons to leave? Maybe having a bad boss, would that be a bad reason? Maybe having work overnight one of the days when you are called to fulfill some deadlines. Is that a good reason? I don't know. Share some experience of why you left and why was your reason, or what would have been terrible reasons?
For me, directly, when you ask what's a terrible reason, I can say that a really terrible reason is for anyone to move just because they don't want to grow or they don't want to try something new. because I find that quite often that people hit something new, but for them it feels like a blocker, a major wall that they cannot move. Well, in reality, it's just something new that I haven't explored before. That it takes just like the first step, like Jay-Z mentioned earlier, to get the ball rolling, and they can be great in that role. So for me, instantly, I can always say that if we see something new and we directly want to quit, I don't think that's a good reason to quit or even here move position. For my case, it wasn't that one. I did the thorough analysis because I'm data centric, I'm in tech. I always do this technicality, I have metrics. So I analyzed the whole picture, not just the role, not just what I do directly day to day, but also looking at the potential and the way I live. Am I happy? And I see it not just in the span of, let's say, a month, because 1 month can change a lot, especially when we're talking about business. It changed even annually, even more bigger than that. But I have to be able to see that what's the normal point is like, how is it I'm doing and how I feel with that. Is that the life that I want? So considering all of those aspects, I did make a change that I'm gonna move position, that this role is not aligned with me anymore.
So you obviously had something in my mind. You had some passion that you wanted to follow, and then you waited, and then you decided that it's not for me. So here's the tricky part, deciding whether to stay or it's time to go or stay a little longer. So how do you balance being ambitious and being patient?
That's a really great question. For me, at that time, I was using metric. I simply take what they're applying to us as a new recruits and I apply it to them. So for me, at that time, the peak point or the turning point for me to start questioning is after my first manager left. So basically, I stayed in that position for 1 year, but I have 2 managers in those span of 1 year. And the block is not 6 months and 6 months, that would be nice. But I have an empty manager in the middle where this spans around 3 months, where I reply directly beyond my manager. It's way upper. So therefore there is a gap in the middle that there isn't any managerial role to help with the task and with the delegation, also direction of my team is going. So I was staying in that to see how it's gonna go, and then also wait for the new manager. Maybe we're gonna align well, because I know that in career, manager plays a big role. Everyone nowadays says that your happiness depends on your manager. If your manager is good, then you have a great life. But if not, then that's a whole other story. So basically, I was assessing those phases after my first manager left, and in the absence of manager, and also with the new manager. To be honest, I was doing it very simple. That when us join a new company, they typically give a probation period, and it's typically 3 months. It's a common 3 months. Basically, I apply the same thing, and I feel like that makes sense. Even for me, I've been traveling for a while, and I live in several different countries before throughout my study. I noted the same exhibit that by the end of those 3 months, I can have a gauge of whether I like it or not. I can see the normal line, not something new. It's beyond just like the honeymoon phase, beyond just the initial excitement, but also beyond the initial irritating parts, because everything is new. We have to learn. So that's a sweet spot for me, and I found that's a good idea. So essentially, I just take those 3 months, whatever it is, what happened. It's a good gauge and it's easy to measure as well. Then I assess again whether the current position that I had at that time were serving me and were leading me to the direction that I want.
And that's so true, right? So an interview process and the probation period is not one way. It's a chance not for the company to assess you or your employer to assess you, it's for you to assess the organization too. So well done. Jay-Z, you have changed roles, I believe. But what was one thing your first job didn't prepare you for? Because you went, first job, we are all, I just graduated, I work hard, I've got this degree. What is one thing that it didn't prepare you for?
Yeah, I think it's just about the I didn't really get much appreciation of what I have done for the team and for the team's like development as well. So it's not about, well, I do find myself like developing all over the time, but I feel stuck because I feel like I have been hitting to the limits which I can't go beyond more than what I'm expecting. And so yeah, I just feel like I has been to it was a very good first job as a grad. Like everything's new, a good workplace, it's fine. But it's just about the limitations about the developments. It's like it kind of has been kept to the ceilings and which you can't really go beyond. So that's why I'm seeking for any new opportunities to challenge. And so yeah, and the other thing, well, in most of the case, like appreciation is much like a cliche, like a good things, especially for the grads. But it's just more about like if they don't really appreciate you, you will start like thinking about if what sort of the contributions are you to the team. So yeah, it's more about the questionings part, but yeah, in general, that was like the key things would be the appreciations and the self-development. Yeah.
So very three different reasons why the panelists change jobs. So here's the truth from an employer, right?
Yeah.
Changing jobs too quickly without progression raises questions. We look at CVs, you've changed jobs, but without really big progressions, we will ask questions. But staying too long without progression, that also raises questions.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the hard employer truth. Here's for
True.
everyone out there. And whatever passion that you want, your first few jobs, I know we want to do something we love, but your first few jobs is really not about finding your passion. It's about building leverage. Let me tell you that. Right? And my son is 27. He's 2 years into his first job. And he's also thinking it's time to go or time to stay. So I'm having the same conversation with him. Right? It's not a matter of whether I'm a baby boomer. I can tell you I'm a millennial trapped in a baby boomer's body. But it's not a matter of generation. This happens as an employer, as somebody hiring and interviewing for people too. So here's one question for all the three panelists, a quick one. What is your biggest frustration right now with your current job or with your first job, whichever you want to talk about? Anybody would like to take this question first?
I think I can go, Paul, first.
Yeah, sure.
And I think this has been more so with not just my first job, but my current job, the job I had before this, and my first job. So I've been in 3 different roles. And I think it's stagnation more so than anything. And it's not just like having a difficult time at work, but it's more so that you feel that you're not growing. And I'm not saying growing in terms of promotion or a salary increment, but also in terms of what I'm absorbing in terms of knowledge, right? Or what I'm learning from my peers. I think stagnation is probably my greatest frustration I have since I've started my career in general, where I just feel that I'm not growing at that point in any way for me to justify staying where I am at the current stage, right? So definitely I would say stagnation is my biggest frustration.
Fantastic. You said something that I want to emphasize a little later, but we'll hear from Felicia and Jay-Z first, and then I'll talk about that, what you just said about stagnation.
For me, it's a bit different from Sufyan, because the biggest part that I don't really like from the previous one is that I was given the opportunity to grow, but it's not in the direction that I would like it to be. It's not in the way that I can see myself. I'm having that kind of future. And at the moment, other than what they gave me on that part, there is another path, and I don't see there is a new path that can be formed for me. So looking at that, then for me, it's easily a feeling like maybe this position is not for me anymore. Maybe even in this company, it's not yet in the right path of my career at the moment.
Good, I hear you. Jay-Z?
Yeah, I think for me it's about while I'm thinking to change a job, is it something a right timing? Like, is it like relevant for my current experience for me to go for new jobs, and what the new employers are going to think about myself and my like the reasons I'm leaving. And I think the most important is about like the responsibilities, like how am I going to deal with those, like the leavings, the departure of my previous job, and how am I going to adapt to a new change, a new environment in a new job. So it was some sort of frustration for over a couple of the months before I make a big decisions, go to the interview or take the offers. So yeah, I think that's the biggest frustrations, and I think it's beyond more than that, because in the real life, it's not, you are not dealing with all your technicals like work all the time. You still need to do some sort of the socializing, which how are you going to explain it to your change, and I mean, in a very professional ways. It's like so yeah, so there's a lot of things happening around, so which I feel quite frustrated at the time. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you, and I feel for you. We'll go back to what Sophian said just now about stagnation, and I think Felicia echoed that too. So I can just share this with you, and this is my own take, right? How to decide whether to stay or to go. I think these are the 4 key questions I normally ask myself throughout my years. Are you learning? Right? Are you being stretched? You could be learning, but are you really being stretched, or are you in a fuzzy, wuzzy, comfort world? Right? Are you being seen? I think I see you all nodding, right? So I hear from the two of from Felicia, from Jay-Z. Are you being seen by your good work? Is it being recognized? Is it being seen? And lastly, are you building future currency? Because this is not going to be your job for the next 40 years, right? So are you building currency for the future? Is that going to matter? How is it going to look on LinkedIn? How is it going to look on the CV, right? So bear those questions in mind, answer those questions for yourself. You will have your own answer to whether it's time to go or time to stay. Or should I stay? All right. Jay-Z, you spoke about just now about some things that you learn in the university, and then you could apply, sometimes you couldn't apply. What skill mattered most that university didn't teach you?
I think it would be the soft skills, to be fair. Well, I think in the workplace, soft skills is like a skills it just stand out whenever you have a very strong technical skills. I mean, technical skills can be learned anywhere else, anytime, but soft skills, it requires experience, years of experience in the workplace, how you engage with people. So I think that's the values I probably, because based on my background, soft skill is the skills that I value the most right now, in terms of the engaging people and how I'm going to present my results, my deliverables to my clients. And so I think I see that as a very useful and critical important skills in the workplace. So yeah, I mean,
Jay-Z, sorry if I interrupt you, but you're giving me corporate answers. When you say soft skill, please give details. What specifically do you mean by soft skills?
Oh, okay, sorry. Just gotta, yeah. Well, I think I would say communications. It's not only like internal teams communications, but it just go beyond everywhere. Even with your peers beside you, like the communications, how you're going to talk about things around. So I think that's a very, very good skills, and that helps a lot, because sometimes you can't really get a lot of like knowledge from the book and from the even from the newsletter on the corporate's like website. So most of the time you communicate with people, you get different engagements throughout different expertise, and so you'll build out some of the knowledge beyond your fields. And so I think that helps a lot because that will brings you into the field, some introductions to the new fields on. So you will get some interest about like how they works and how you are going to collaborate with people around you as well. So I think that helps me in terms of making a move away from my first job, because that's how I built some interest in my current jobs. And so engage with people around, talk to them, and then get some insights like beyond that what you can get from the books or from the papers, because most of the time the people's experience will tell you more than what the books can tell. So yeah, I think that's the part that you can't really get it from uni, but you still can get it from like not from the course, but maybe you can start it from like go to the clubs or society, try to build up the skills first, like how you're going to engage with people, how you're going to get some things you want to get from. So yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting skills, and I'm still learning on that. So yeah, I mean, it's a long
Cool.
way, but
No,
yeah.
cool. But if you Google leadership skills 2026 or 2025, you will see that empathy is now the new superpower, right? So it's soft skills again. I don't know if Harriet Ward offers an MBA on empathy or a module, but something to think about. Felicia, what was harder than you expected? And did you ever feel underqualified in your two roles or three roles?
Be honest, I feel very underqualified in my previous role and this role. When I first joined in, when I first read the job description when I applied, I don't even know if I can do it, to be honest. I know that I can grow and fit the role that they want, and I know that I can do it. But with the current skill that I have, it's an obvious no. But I do have a similar roles or similar experience that become the foundation of what I do. For example, the easiest thing that I can think right now is with the international communication. My current company, they're based in the UK and their client is everywhere around the world. And even in my team, there isn't two people that's from the same nation, not two person that have the same passport. So even though they're UK based, I'm basically in an international company. I'm an international team. So if I never work in that role before, of course, I never have been in the international position formally in the company and corporate wise. But I have the experience of being abroad before. I did my undergrad in Japan, I did my master in Harriet Watt. So I had the opportunity and experience to talk with the other people from abroad my nation. And even from my first role, I need to talk with the non-technical people whom I'm talking on day-to-day basis now, which is the client. So just looking at the bullets point on this current job position, I don't have the skill. I really feel like I'm not capable. But knowing what I've passed before, knowing what I experienced before, I know that I can grow to the best type of team that they need for my current position.
So how hard or how easy it is for you for international communication? Because you said you have lived abroad before and that helped you. Is it because you understand cultures better or what makes people tick or?
I think because I'm used to put in a new environment quite often. So for a bit of a background story, my master was an Erasmus Mundus master, where I moved to a new country every 6 months, sometimes 3 to 4 months, depends on the academic schedule. And with that movement, I have to arrange everything. And typically, I'm the first 1 or 2% to arrive in that city. So imagine you moving to a new country, not even city, country, every 6 months, and I didn't speak the local language, and they barely can speak English as well. So there's a lot of adaptation. There's a lot of having to feel the nuance, something that is not being delivered through words, maybe from the body language, perhaps, or their expression. Non all of those non-verbal communications. And I think that helps me a lot. That gives me a lot of training, and that I really believe that that cannot be taken in class or even any course. I mean, we can always teach, oh, we have this amount of non-verbal communication. 80% of the communication is non-verbal. But until we experience it ourselves, that is just something that we know logically, and we doesn't know how to apply it. And even most of the time, we're gonna be confused because, okay, how do I read the emotion? Is he sad? Is he not sad? Is it just an Asian thing that she's very cheerful? Or is it a cultural thing that they're very cold? Everything is based on nuance, and everything have a lot of sample points. And I do have to say that because I experienced it a lot in my master program, so currently it's not as hard. Especially now that even though everything is online, we can just online like this. This is very a great innovation that we have with technology. But it also limits those non-verbal. Yes, we can see each other, but there's always something in nuance that we cannot say, but it's always there. Not just with their expression, but something in the air that's only can be felt and seen when we're with the person directly.
So folks on the call listening in, what Jay-Z and Felicia are saying to us is that university teaches us knowledge, the workplace teaches you stamina. Sofian, you know a bit of thing or two about moving countries, moving jobs, moving roles. Did you ever think you made a mistake? Or I wish I hadn't made that move or something like that?
I don't think I would say I made a mistake. I don't think I would call it a mistake. Could I have made better decisions? Possibly, yes. But mistakes, definitely not, right? Like even if I might not have made the best decision at that time, I feel like I learned a lot regardless of what opportunity I took in. And I'm honestly very happy for all decisions that I've made because every decision that I made came with change. And I think change is good, at least in very early on in your career. I think the more you can change, the more you can learn in a very respectable amount of time, obviously not too fast. I don't think I would say I made any I wouldn't call them mistakes at all.
Well, okay, let me rephrase it a little bit for the people listening in, because some people could be thinking, should I make that change? I don't want to regret it later on. I have made changes in my life. I have changed industries from credit cards to insurance to now hospitality. Well, I'm a sucker for punishment, so I joined the hospitality industry. So, but and then sometimes you wish that you do think back and says, maybe I should stay a little longer there. I could have got that promotion and stuff like that. So there are people with that kind of thought. And you have been one who have made changes, locations and roles and jobs. So you are in a good place to tell us more about that. So, and if you say you haven't made a mistake, what kept you so positive?
I think what kept me positive is the trajectory, right? I'm growing. If I would have made another choice previously, could I have grown faster? Potentially. I don't know the answer to it because I didn't make those decisions, right? That's the opportunity cost, I think, of making these decisions. But my trajectory has been upwards in terms of my knowledge, in terms of, 2 years ago, what I knew in terms of what I could deliver, I wouldn't be able to tell you that. Like if you asked me 2 years ago, what can you deliver, Sofian? I wouldn't know. And now when I've learned that how much more I can deliver because of how much I've learned from, even if there was mistakes that I made in terms of changes in career or opportunities that I turned down actually, like for example, right, like there was one opportunity where I could have potentially made in terms of pay more than what I'm making today, but I turned that down because I felt like my manager at the time and the people I worked with were teaching me so much more than I have learned. Like, I think I learned more with them in 6 months than I've learned in the past 1 year. So I think that's speed of learning, and everything that I've made it was always opportunity cost, I think, right? And I always had to turn something else down for returns in some other scope. And I think I feel I can't say for sure that I made the best decisions, but I made decisions where I felt that now is the time for change, and I felt like my trajectory's always been up from where I am or where I was.
Good, brilliant. Now I'm conscious of time. We have about 19 minutes. We also want some time for Q&A for people to ask questions and to wrap up. So I'm going to ask some quick rapid fire questions for all three of you, right? So quick ones. What is one career myth that maybe uncles, aunties, parents, grandparents told you about career that is now you believe is a myth and you should ignore completely? What's one advice or career truth you want to share with everybody? Something to ignore completely, or one career myth that you think people should ignore? For all three of you.
I would say chasing only passion at the start of your career would probably be one. I think if you just go after passion at the beginning, it's not going to be the best or not the easiest to find alignment in terms of all other scopes of what actually is a career in itself. Probably that.
I like that, because I said something to that effect earlier, right? Early careers is not just about chasing passion. If it happens to be a passion, fantastic. If it's not, it's a starting point. It's not a verdict on your future. Good. Thanks, Sofian. Thanks for that. Really great one. Felicia, Jay-Z?
For me, I would say that those in the higher levels and the position that we always glimmering of thinking about, they are not that scary. They are still person, and they still makes mistakes, and we just have to treat them as another person. They're not that scary. And even talking to them is such a great opportunity. Even when it's just a coffee chat, it's just nice to be able to see and know that those in the very high position, they're still same like us. And even maybe those coffee chats will turn to something. But the last part is just stumbling and to advice. But for me, the myth is just that those in the higher ups, they're not scary and they're not like very tight and angry. Most of the time, with the new people, they're very open. They want to see and hear us.
Yeah.
She's saying that because I've been a bad boss. Not that I work with her, but I look like a bad boss before.
No, I do agree. Yeah, I mean, they make mistakes as well. So, I mean, don't be afraid to stand out, to ask about the clarity. Yeah. So I think that's a very good takeaway from Felicia. I mean, for myself, I think the myth is about like, well, I mean, career is not the final destination of the whole learning path. It's still a learning path. It could be the starting point. So don't stop learning anything. It's because you still have like 40 years to build out your whole career path. So keep learning, and yeah, you'll find anything's very different. Maybe you will depart from whatever you used to be in your unis, but don't be afraid. I mean, because it's never be the ending part. It's just like you have to keep learning until you're retired. So yeah, and keep open-minded. Don't be afraid to do any sort of changes, even at the latest age. It's like, it's never be too late. Yeah.
So to paraphrase Jay-Z, he's basically saying, don't stay somewhere because it's safe, and don't leave somewhere just because it's uncomfortable.
Wow, that's very good. Thank you, Paul.
I think I summarized that. Thanks. Is there any questions at all from the field Jen, Sarah,
Yes,
Sharon,
we've got some great questions here, Paul. So
Brilliant.
perhaps I can put a couple of these to the panel. Thanks so much for everyone putting your questions in. You've still got time to put any more in that you want to do. First, my camera's off. How do you stay motivated and keep your drive alive when you don't enjoy your job? And I think that's something that lots of people can relate to. We all have those moments when you just think, I'm just not enjoying this. But, and it may be temporarily or it may be longer term. But have you got any tips for kind of revitalizing that drive and when you're not really feeling it with your job?
Basically, know your why. The why behind the what. What gets you up in the morning to go to work? For some people, it's financial obligations. For some people, is to build relationships and build a base and build on your worth, so then you can move on to something else. For some people, it's just to get some experience under the belt, and then you go on. And some people, it's just to get your foot in the door while you just begin to grow elsewhere later on or laterally. But whatever it is the why that drives you or keeps you in there. That's what I believe. At 60 years old, I'm still going to work. Some people say I should have been retired. I can retire, but I like to unleash the power of future leaders. I get a kick out of it by working with people around me, whether they're in the 20s, whether in the 40s, and seeing them grow or helping them 1 or 2 steps towards their development and their growth. It makes me feel that I have carved my name on their hearts, so that when I'm gone, it's not just on a tombstone and forgotten 2 weeks later. It's on their hearts and I'll be talked about after that. And that's my why. So know your why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Paul. That's a great legacy as well, to have that interaction with and that impact with people. Does anyone else want to comment on that? Have you been in that situation? Have you got any tips on how you keep yourself going, keep yourself motivating, keep that enthusiasm up? Any other thoughts?
I think I have one. It's more like tweaking a bit from what Paul said. Since we're in the context of moving to a new job, new position, I imagine the person that's asking this is not really enjoying their current position. So taking a twist a bit on what Paul said and finding the why, I would say changing the why. Because in that position in the military where we're unsure we want to move, or maybe we're waiting, being patient of it. And the main reason or the initial why that we have when we join the position is not going to be the same. It most likely it doesn't work anymore because we want to switch out, we want to move out of that situation. So in the middle, while waiting, it would be great to find another why, something else that would motivate us, something else that make the day brighter than the actually is. So I would say change the why and find a new why.
And honestly, if you think that you're the only one going through this, don't. If you look around and you assume everybody else has a 5-year plan and they're happy, they're just better at pretending than you are. So there are people fighting their own battles. So when you know that you are not alone, the journey becomes a little easier. Find people to walk this journey with you.
Thanks for that. That's really, really helpful. And actually, it leads on to another question that we have here around, sort of if you are then deciding that really it is time to move on, but you've decided that perhaps the field that you're in or the role that you're in isn't right for you, and you want to make an industry change or a role change. Have you got any advice on how to do that? So we've been asked here, nobody really wants to have to start at the bottom of the company again. So how do you go about that? And I suppose there's something there about understanding your value and your worth when you're looking into the market, and you don't have that baseline, that simple baseline of being a graduate and at the same stage as everybody else, but you've done some other things, you've got some other experience. So how do you navigate changes into a different sector or a different role? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can pick it up. So I didn't really change a big like change in terms of industry, but I do started from the bottom of the company again. Well, despite I have 2 years of experience, I should be somewhere slightly higher than graduates, but I still started with graduate roles. Yeah, I mean, I do see that part, like you feel kind of the unfairness in terms of some sort of the financial treatments or like the positions in the corporates in the industry. But I would say from the company's views, they still need some time to investigate how's your progressions, how's your like your integrations into the company. So well, it takes some time. I'm very positive in terms of like thinking about that, because otherwise you never know that how's the promotions or the is going to be. But what you can do is try to pick up things because it's new to you. You need a lot of things to learn. So to them, I mean, you are definitely a grads, but while with your experience in your prior experience in the other companies, in the other jobs, there are still a lot of like transferable skills that can bring you values about to stand out from the graduates group. So that's the things that you can try to stand out, because you have those transferable skills from your previous jobs, and you know you have been in the workplace for long enough. And so, I mean, you're definitely better than the grads, even though in terms of knowledge part, you might you might need to take some time to pick up, but as long as you have the well, you have the wills to learn, and I don't think that will be an issue for you to stay too long at the bottom of the company. Yeah, but it definitely takes some time and depends on the nature of the company as well. So, well, yeah, it could be quite unfair. I can feel in that way, because I do feel at the first like few couple months, but I talked to my managers, what I felt, and I mean, it's more about like, while we're thinking at the point of our views, like we think about our experience, our backgrounds, but at the same time, the company is still investigating, like they are trying to test out how you get into the team. So it's not a very quick like process, and and in terms of like to promote you into a better positions. So it definitely takes some time, which it requires some patience. But what you can do, just self-development, prove that you can really contribute, and yeah, but not to like over self-proving yourself, and we just need to get a balance on that. So yeah.
Sarah, if you don't mind, can you just share that one slide? I will answer that question to that.
Yes,
I'll
absolutely.
speak to the slide. Yes.
Jen, could we get the next slide on the screen?
And I see a few questions there. I think that slide would help answer some of the questions as well.
It's such an interesting thing, isn't it? Because you think, I've kind of landed this graduate job and that's my progress. And then the idea that you have to start again. I think it's worth mentioning, I've worked with graduates who have done exactly that, and they've wanted to change direction. And, in some cases that's been possible, but in other cases they've needed to start at the bottom. But they've started with a very different organization where the progression is quicker, or perhaps the rewards are greater. So it's not always a negative, I think, to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, because like if you get into the new industry, you're definitely like a baby to the new roles. And so, I mean, I would say it's a bad thing, is because it just gives you a different views of, well, when you become a grad again. So it's like maybe you feel something different now in these positions. Well, what you might find out what you have messed up when you were a grad like a couple of years ago. So it just gives you a brand new views of being a graduate, but with a slight knowledgeable like experience. And so yeah, you feel something different. And the other things is about like what you're really looking for. Is there something like is it the part of the careers, like part of is it what the team's doing is really interests you, and is that what you really want? So I think that will help in terms of the like well, if when considering a change, you won't really matters where you're starting from if that's the things that you really want. Yeah.
So can I just point attention to this? Can you all see the slide that says performance image exposure? This is an image from Google Image. So anybody can Google performance image exposure and you can read about this. It's not something that I created. It's something that is there that you can read about. So performance is the key thing in all organizations, right? Every job requires to be able to perform well at that job. But you know what? My dad told me when I started my first job that if you work hard, you perform well, you get promoted and life will be good. Guess what? My dad lied. Performance is the entry ticket to the party, my friends, but performance doesn't get you up the career ladder. Performance is only 10% of your overall success factor. But don't get me wrong, without performance, there is no party. All right? You are not in an organization very long. But if you can perform, and I could perform, I was a top salesperson in Asia for 4 years in a row. I have been sent for management development programs in American Express for 2 years. And when my boss resigned 7 years later, when I applied for the job with my awards, with my certification, with everything, I thought I'll get the job. I didn't. Somebody else from another department got the job. So I resigned. I went to an insurance company, and again, I performed. I turned the place around. 2.5 years later, sales manager resigned. I applied for the job. I didn't get it. Somebody else got it. I resigned again. I was pissed off. After a few times, you begin to think, maybe it's not that boss. Maybe it's not that person who is lucky. Maybe it's me. So I can tell you that 3 times more important than performance is image. It's not how you perform, but how you come across. Image is what words people use to describe you when you're not in the room. When you apply for a job or promotion, the hiring manager will ask people who have worked with you before, whether somebody is reporting to you or your boss before, and say, hey, what do you think of Sophian? What do you think of this girl called Felicia? What would be words that they use to describe you? Oh, great team player, always deliver on commitments, always on time. Or that person can perform, but you know what? High maintenance, whiner, not ethical. So what are the words that people are going to use about you? That is image. So if you can perform and you can do it well with the right image, you have a better chance of going up. So image is the way you ask questions, the questions you ask, the questions you don't ask, the things you say. Are you trying to add too much value? Do you overtalk? Are you too quiet? Nobody knows you're good, right? So it's the balance. The way you write emails, is it full of emotions or you're more factual? So everything impacts image. And 60%, my friends, 60% is exposure. So my dad told me, if you want to be successful, is who you know that's important. Again, my dad lied. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. We all know Donald Trump. Does he know you? Does that help? So it's who knows you. So if you think you're behind, take a breath. Don't worry about it. Build skills, right? Build reputation and build relationships. And then I can tell you that you are not late. You are early. You have good 40 years ahead of you. I hope I answered some of the other Q&As that were posted. That's it, folks. That's a wrap from me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Paul. That's a great place to finish. There are some more questions, and I'm sorry we're not going to get through them all today. But do come. I'm very happy for you to come back to me via the What Club or directly to me, and happy to try and tackle some of those. This has just been such an enlightening session, and we're so grateful to you. Thank you, Paul, for asking all the right questions, and thank you, panelists, for your very candid answers. We really appreciate you sharing your own experiences, and it's so valuable for us all. you can please stay connected with the What Club. We hope to run more of these sessions in the future, and we really enjoy having you along and seeing everybody at these sessions. So let us know if there are things that you want us to run in the future. All that's left for me today is to say that this session will be available for you to download. You'll get a notification about that. And just to say a final thank you to our panelists today. We know you're all really busy people. We appreciate you giving up your time and coming along to this. And we're very grateful for the value that adds for our graduates. So thanks, everybody. And that is us finishing on time. So hope to see you soon, and thanks for your contributions.